Matthew Grounds is one of my closest friends that we have on this podcast. And I get to spend a lot of time with Matthew and his wife, Kimmy. And it's always amazing to me. Every time I sit down with Matthew over a dinner or on this podcast, I learn something, usually a few things. And the conversation on winning the room was no different. Here I was thinking we'd be talking about the pressure of deal making and the number crunching and the specifics of what makes a deal formulate and work. But instead, we spoke about human connections, emotions, really getting the culture right around you. And headline, be a good person, be authentic. These aren't the kind of things that maybe spring to mind when you think about the finance world, when you think about banking. But we learned this from Matthew on this pod, and it was such a privilege to have him, right? He doesn't really do, interviews, let alone podcasts, and I feel very fortunate that he was willing to do it for me. And I know we're all going to get a lot out of listening to this one. So let's unpack where we went, right? This idea that deal making, the assumption is it's numbers and it's crunching the right percentage and deal and payoff and incentive. Yeah, these things need to be there. You need the brilliant basics. But what takes a deal over the top, what makes a deal work, is the way that people connect in the room, in the conversation of the deal. And with Matthew, we go into a lot of those high-pressure rooms, right? Big brand names you know about, big deals that you've seen in the newspaper. And he takes us into those rooms and he talks to us about the way the people came together as opposed to the way the numbers came together. And it's fascinating. Something to think about as you reflect on your own business and your own life is the need for vision. And what I mean by vision is that where statement that we set, as in where are we headed as an individual or as an organization. It's an idea and a set of words that crystallizes the destination that we're heading for. Maybe it's a 5 to 10 year projection. This business is going to be here. It's going to feel like something when we get there. And you make sure it's got that environmental feel to it so you can track how you're going. And also, more importantly, you know when you get there and you then need to set the next vision for the business. Well, in my conversation with Matthew, we learned that getting that vision right and making sure that your people sign up to it, that is how you get the most out of your people. It's how you get your A-grade people to join and stay because they believe in a vision. It's tangible enough that they can track towards it and they can measure it, but it's also inspiring enough that it makes people want to put in extra effort and turn up and really show up for the moments that matter. So how do you go from schmoozing to genuine connection? And I want to throw in one more curveball. Doing that with people that you maybe don't know or don't like, right? So you're in one of those moments, you know you need to connect with this person, they're part of your work life, they're part of the deal, but at the moment, you don't know them, and currently what you're saying you don't necessarily like. A small tip for you, find one thing you do like, and it could be a relatively simple thing, like I like her earrings, or I like the sound of that guy's voice. Just start there. One thing you like about them. You will find yourself lean into the positive just ever so slightly. And then, as it happens, you'll find one other small thing. You'll lean a little further into positivity, then 3, 4, 5 things. Suddenly, you have found a way to connect and get along with this person. Now, that may sound a little bit inauthentic and trickery. It's not. It's just giving yourself an open door into human connection as opposed to, I don't know this person or I don't like this person, closing the door to human connection. So it's just a tip to eke it open. See one thing, see 2 things, suddenly 10 things. Oh, I actually quite like this person now. Then you get to find out if you really can connect. If the door's shut, it ain't going to happen no matter what. Okay, fact time. I got this message this week from a client. They're in a very extroverted business. It's an entertainment company. And their question was simple. Do I need to be extroverted and use my jazz hands in the upcoming meeting in order to connect? Now, I think this is an interesting question, and I imagine lots of people have it. If you go to typical public speaking or presentation training, more often than not, they will try and push you into an extroverted state. I think this is a real problem. Number one, if you tend to be on the introverted end of that scale, and I do note, it's not a I'm introverted, I'm extroverted. It is a sliding scale and people do fluctuate. But if you find yourself more often than not down the introverted end, it is going to be a huge amount of work and basically exhausting in order for you to always be extroverted and jazz hands if you're not. So my advice is simple. No, you do not need to be extroverted in order to connect. In fact, if you are, for example, a quiet talker, you can use tone and quietness in order to cut through a room and really connect. Equally, if you are loud and extroverted, you maybe need to pull it back a bit and land those big moments for effect when it's something that you really want to drive through a meeting or drive through a keynote, so it sticks out amongst all of the other information. If you're full-blown extroverted the whole way or full-blown introverted the whole way, it gets tiresome, extroverted, it gets boring, introverted. So you've got to find your range. But the headline answer to this, I think, common and brilliant question is, no, you don't need to be extroverted. You need to be yourself and double down naturally on what comes to you. Quiet talker, make quietness part of your superpower. Big hand movements, make body language part of your superpower. So you double down on what you naturally have and you make that your skill set. As always, I like to end with an action, something for you to do to up your own game. This one's called cultural immersion. Get fascinated with other people. If you're not into pop music, now's your time to go to a Justin Bieber concert. If you're into pop music, now's your time to go to a death metal concert. The point is, step out of your usual habits and ruts and go and walk in the shoes of other people. And look, I hear you. Easy to say, why would anyone actually do this? Well, I got to tell you, at the start of my creative career, I went and did this with great effect. So I did things like assisted a dentist, sat next to him as he did dental things, and it was pretty gross, and I learned a lot just from his mannerisms and the way he did what he did. Another time I actually was riding shotgun with a brain surgeon, watching him do keyhole surgery. I mean, not only the surgery is fascinating, but watching the human behavior of a patient coming in, still awake, the way they're reacting with the situation, getting into this operating theatre for the first time and then going to sleep and then seeing them when they wake up. I mean, it's incredible empathy and understanding you get for other people through doing these things. So go to a concert you'd never usually go to. Drive home a different way you would never usually drive home. Start talking to Uber drivers rather than staying quiet. If you can get into the shoes of other people, and again, culturally immerse, that will give you so many more stories, so many more insights that you can then bring back to any conversation, any presentation that you may have to give in your job or in your life. Thanks for listening to this episode. It's a really important conversation that needs to happen, and you can find us anywhere where you get high-quality podcasts. If you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did, make sure you check out the next episode.